A forgotten cryopod drifts in deep space. Inside sleeps a man whose body defies science and whose past holds secrets powerful enough to change the galaxy. But when he wakes, the crew that found him realizes too late that he wasn't meant to return alone. What if the last hope of humanity is also its greatest threat? If you are new to the channel, then please subscribe to the channel and like the video, and tell us where you are watching from. Now, let's jump into the story. Deep in the outer rim of space, where no star shines and silence rules the void, a ship drifts slowly. Its name is Lorea's Grace. Once a research vessel, now it searches forgotten corners of the galaxy for knowledge long buried. Captain Morel stands on the bridge, eyes fixed on the glowing edge of a ruined spacecraft caught in the ship's scanners. It appears ancient, predating known civilizations. Lieutenant Drell, the ship's science officer, speaks through the silence. The wreck's materials are unknown. No signals, no warnings, but one life sign pulses faintly from within the wreckage. Curiosity wins over caution. The crew suits up. With shields raised and nerves on edge, they float into the ghost ship. Wires hang like vines. Scorched panels speak of fire and battle. In the center chamber, behind a thick glass wall, they find it, a cryopod, intact. Inside, a man lies still, his body preserved, his heartbeat slow, his face calm. The data reads something unbelievable. He is human. Humans have not walked the stars for more than 200 years. They were wiped out during the Great Purge, a war the Talari Empire had long hidden from its citizens. Captain Morel knows this man should not exist, but he does. They bring the pod aboard. Medical scans confirm he is alive, healthy, unchanged by time. Some crew members whisper. They fear what he might be, a relic of a violent past. Morel listens to the debates, but makes his choice. They will wake him. Lieutenant Drell sets the systems. Temperature levels rise. Oxygen flows in. The ice thins. The heartbeat rises. The man inside shifts. His fingers twitch. After 200 years, he is about to open his eyes. A voice speaks on the ship's intercom. All crew are to report to Observation Bay 12. Siren, the human, is waking. The pod hisses. Cold vapor spills onto the floor. The glass slides open. He gasps, coughs, then breath deep. His eyes scan the room. Calm. No fear. Captain Morel steps forward. She introduces herself slowly, clearly. Siren does not speak, not at first. His gaze moves over the equipment, the screens, the alien uniforms. He finally speaks. Where am I? His voice is low, steady, controlled. Lieutenant Drell answers. You are aboard a Talari research vessel. Siren looks confused. The Talari were allies once, not rulers. Morel asks his name. He replies, Siren, born on Earth Colony 9, Cryo Unit 4, mission date unknown. Earth Colony 9 is not on any modern map. Morel questions him further. His memories are clear. He remembers war, evacuation, the Great Freeze. He was part of a last attempt to save humanity, to wait out destruction in sleep. Morel shares a heavy truth. Humanity is gone. Their worlds turn to dust. Siren is silent. His face shows no tears. Only thought, only stillness. Later, in the ship's medical wing, scans show something strange. His muscle density is far higher than any human recorded. His bones are reinforced. His reaction time almost inhuman. Dr. Vess, the ship's medic, whispers a word no one dares say out loud. Superhuman. Lieutenant Drell checks the cryo records again. The technology used was far beyond anything the Talari had seen. Who made him this way? And why? Later that night, the ship shudders. A power surge cuts through the main corridor. No one is hurt, but the source is unknown. Security footage shows nothing, only static. Yet one image stands out. Siren, alone in the cryo chamber, eyes closed, body still. But the monitors around him flicker, blink, then burn out. Captain Morel watches the footage with concern. He says nothing, but he sees everything. And maybe he remembers more than he says. Morel orders a full watch on Siren, not as a prisoner, not yet, but as a mystery. Because in the silence of space, some answers are too dangerous to ignore. Inara, the Empire's top biologist, is called in. She watches the video feed. She studies his scans. She sees something beautiful, something rare. A human made not just to survive, but to evolve. As the ship continues its journey, more strange things occur. Gravity shifts. Dreams ripple across the minds of the crew. And every time, Siren is nearby. He walks the halls. He listens. He learns. But he shares little. One night, he stops at the observation deck, looking out at the stars. Lieutenant Drell joins him. Drell asks what he remembers. Siren answers slowly. We were told to sleep until the world was ready, until peace returned. He pauses. But this is not peace. This is something else. Drell asks what he means. Siren looks at him, his eyes calm. You woke me, but you don't know why I was frozen. Drell feels a chill, and Siren adds one final thing. There are others, and they might be waking too. Fade to black. End of P. Siren had been awake for 3 days. In that time, he had spoken few words, but the silence around him was loud. The crew of Lurea's Grace observed him. They studied his habits. They watched him walk the ship's corridors with quiet strength. Inara arrived on the 4th day. She was the Empire's leading xenobiologist. Young but brilliant. Calm but curious. She entered the observation room and watched him through the glass. He stood still, looking out at the stars like they were old friends. She whispered to the guard beside her. Is he dangerous? The guard said nothing. Inara walked in. The room was quiet, sterile, cold. Siren turned his head slowly. His eyes met hers. You're new, he said. Yes, she replied. I'm here to understand you. He smiled slightly, then nodded. She sat across from him, began asking questions. What do you remember? What was your mission? What did you know about the war? He answered calmly, carefully. He remembers the silence that followed. His people had chosen to freeze themselves, not to escape, but to survive. One question made him pause. Why did you survive when the others didn't? His eyes narrowed. Because I was made to. Later, Inara met with Captain Morel. She shared her notes. He's not just a survivor, she said. His body is changing. Captain Morel raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? Inara explained. His cells are regenerating at high speed. His bones are dense. His blood carries oxygen faster than any known species. He's adapting. Adapting to what? Morel asked. To this time, this world, this reality. He's not waking up. He's becoming. Across the ship, Commander Vox was not impressed. He believed in caution, in rules, in control. He watched Siren on the monitors, each step, each glance. He told Morel, we don't know what he is. He may look human, but something inside him is different. Moriel agreed, but she wasn't ready to lock. Vox placed 2 guards near Siren's quarters. Silent, armed. Siren never reacted, but he noticed. On the 6th day, something changed. A power surge swept through the medical bay. Systems failed for 7 seconds. Inara was reviewing Siren's blunt scans when the lights blinked out. When they returned, her screen showed numbers that didn't make sense. His DNA was shifting. New sequences. Ancient patterns. Patterns not seen in humans for centuries. She ran the data again. It was real. Siren's body was evolving. On day 7, Siren asked to visit the ship's archive. Morel allowed it under supervision. He stood before the glowing screen, searching history. He read about Earth's destruction, the collapse of human colonies. He learned about the Talari Empire, its rise, its power. He read about the Purge, how his people were labeled dangerous, unpredictable. He said nothing, but his fists clenched. That night, he sat alone in the cryo room, the chamber where he had slept for 200 years. Inara joined him. He looked at her, his voice quiet. How many others like me were found? None, she said. Only you. He looked away. Then they're not looking hard enough. Inara asked. What would happen if they woke? Siren looked at the glass. Some were teachers, some were builders, some were protectors, and some were weapons. On day 9, an alert rang out. A sensor anomaly, an object approaching. A small shuttle. No signal, no response. Morel ordered it scanned. Siren stepped into the command deck, his eyes locked on the screen. He whispered, "That's one of ours." Inara stepped forward. "You recognize it?" "Yes." Morel turned. "Who is on board?" Siren's face went cold. "Her name is Moran. She's my daughter." Shock filled the room. Inara stepped back. He never mentioned family. Vox ordered security to High Al. Intact, vitals stable, female, early 20s, human. As the crew stared at the frozen face inside, Siren reached out. His hand touched the glass. For the first time, his voice cracked. "I told her to wait." The crew didn't know what to do. Morel faced a choice. Revive her or not? Inara spoke quietly. "We need to know who they are." Vox argued, "This is not science anymore. This is risk." Morel made her decision. Start the revival. Siren stood beside the pod, his eyes steady, his heart calm. He knew this was only the beginning, and so did everyone watching. Because the awakening had started, and now nothing would ever be the same again. End of part 2. The cryopod opened slowly. Cold vapor poured out and rolled across the floor. Marin opened her eyes. She blinked against the bright lights. Her breath was shaky, her heart steady. She saw Siren standing above her. His face was older, his eyes softer. The room fell silent. Captain Morel, Lieutenant Drell, and Inara stood nearby. They watched closely. Moran looked around. Nothing was familiar. "This isn't our ship," she said. "No," Siren answered, "it's not." Morel stepped forward. She introduced herself. Moran sat up, her voice calm but curious. "How long has it been?" Inara answered. "Over 200 years." Moran didn't flinch. "We expected that." Later, in the ship's medical wing, Moran underwent full scans. Her results mirrored Siren's. Enhanced cells, dense bones, advanced neural activity. Inara stared at the results. They were not just surviving, they were adapting. Back in the command center, Commander Vox reviewed the data. He didn't like what he saw. Two humans, both stronger than expected, both full of secrets. He called for backup from the Empire. A message was sent to General Kale. He was a cold man, trusted by few, feared by many. He appeared by hologram hours later. Secure the humans, gather full reports, and prepare for containment. Moriel pushed back. They are not hostile. Kale stared at her. Not yet. In a quiet corner of the ship, Siren sat with Marin. He told her what he had seen, what he had read, how humanity had been erased from history. Marin listened, her face calm. Then she said something that made him pause. We were not the only ship. Siren nodded slowly. How many? 5. Maybe more. Scattered, hidden, waiting. Siren stood. Then we have work to do. Inara and Lieutenant Drell joined them the next day. They listened as Marin described the last days before the Great Sleep. The elemental siege, a war that reshaped planets, a war that pushed humanity to the edge. Some chose to fight, others chose to vanish. Their ship, the Aetherborn, was one of many. Each carried specialists, each held the fire of the old world. Inara asked, "What fire?" Marin explained, "Not Jew." Each ship was a seed, planted far across the stars, waiting for the right time to rise. Drell leaned forward. "What time is that?" Marin answered, "When the silence becomes too loud." Inara felt a chill. They weren't just survivors. They were the legacy of a civilization that chose silence over war. But that silence was ending. The ship's historian, Chief Analyst Solon, began digging into old files, long-forgotten records, hidden archives. What he found changed everything. Before the Purge, the Talari Empire had signed an agreement. They promised peace, then broke it. The files showed orders, secret missions, entire human colonies wiped clean, not because they were dangerous, but because they were different. Solon brought the data to Moriel. She stared at the screen in disbelief. We weren't told any of this. No one was. Vox reviewed the files too. His hands shook. What else were they hiding? Across the ship, some feared Siren and Moran. Others began to see them differently, not as enemies, but as warnings. On the 10th day, another signal was detected. Weak, distorted, a cryopod beacon from a different sector. Siren looked at the screen. This one was a warrior class. Morale asked what that meant. He answered without emotion. They were built to win wars. Vox stepped back. Are they like you? No. They're stronger, faster, less forgiving. Morale made a decision. We need to reach it before anyone else does. Inara agreed. If others wake without guidance, chaos may follow. They set a course. The journey would take days. Siren and Moran spent that time preparing. They trained in the simulation bay. Their movements were precise, fluid, powerful. Crew members watched, some with fear, others with awe. On the 5th day of travel, another message came. This one was not from the pod. It was from General Kale. Stand down. Hold position. Wait for Imperial escort. Morale ignored the command. She believed in choice, in truth, and in the fire she saw behind Siren's eyes. When they reached the beacon, what they found shook them. The pod was gone, taken. The chamber was open, signs of struggle, blood, and a message carved into the wall. The fire remembers. Marin looked at it and whispered, "They're waking on their own." Siren stepped forward. Then we are no longer alone. Inara turned to Morale. What do we do now? Morale looked at her crew. We find them. We help them. Before it's too late. The crew of Lorea's Grace returned to deep space. They had followed a signal, found an empty cryopod, and a message carved in steel. The fire remembers. Siren stood at the front of the bridge, his face calm, his mind sharp. Marin was beside him, her eyes focused on the stars. They were searching now. Not but for answers. Captain Morale gave the order. Keep scanning the outer sectors. No one questioned her command. Even Commander Vox stayed silent. He had seen the truth. The Empire had erased the past, but the past was waking. Inara sat in the lab, going over the latest scans from the empty pod site. Something about the energy signature was strange. It was older than anything she had seen. Older than the Talari Empire itself. Siren joined her. He studied the data. His voice was steady. This is Ashlight technology. Inara looked up. What is Ashlight? He took a breath. A forgotten project. Born during the siege. Not weapons, not tools. Hybrids. Living humans bonded with energy systems. Created to hold power no single body could control alone. Only a few were made. Most never survived. Those who did were feared, even by their own. Moran added quietly, they weren't meant to wake, but now they are. At that moment, the S, not from a pod, from a satellite, ancient but still functional. Chief Analyst Solon brought up the coordinates. Sector 12, near a collapsed star. Morel gave the order, set a course. It would take 3 days to reach it. During that time, tension spread through the ship. Crew members asked questions. Who else was out there? What were they becoming? Siren met with Captain Morel. They stood alone in the command chamber. He told her the full truth. The Ashlight program was never finished. Some were hidden in deep space, never activated. Others were sealed away. They were not designed to serve. They were designed to survive anything. And now that they were waking, the galaxy would feel their presence. Morel asked the one question no one else dared. Can they be reasoned with? Siren didn't answer right away. Some can. Some won't want to. On the third day, Lorea's Grace arrived at the source. The satellite was Or. Its signal was pulsing a phrase. Ashlight Echo active. A warning, a map, and a key. Vox led a small team down to the moon's surface. Siren and Marin joined them. The air was thin, cold, silent. They moved across the rocks until they reached a hidden structure. Inside was darkness, then light. Blue lines running along the walls, forming symbols. Siren recognized them. Ashlight seals. The chamber ahead held something powerful. Marin stepped forward. Her hand touched the console. It came alive. A voice filled the room. Fragmented, digital, subject active, status unknown. Containment breached. Then silence. The inner door opened, and there he stood, a tall figure, human but altered. His skin shimmered with light. His eyes burned with quiet fire. He looked at Siren. You woke early. Siren nodded. So did you. The figure stepped forward. My name is Selin. I was the first Ashlight, the last prototype. I'm not here to fight, but others might be. Marin asked, how many are awake? Selin closed his eyes. 4 confirmed. More on the edge. Siren stepped closer. We need to find them. Guide them. The 4 others do. Selin looked at the crew. Then you'll need help. He reached into a slot on the wall, pulled out a data crystal. This holds locations, names, histories. Give it to your captain. They returned to the ship. Inara began decoding the crystal. It was a map of Ashlight sleepers, scattered across forgotten places. Captain Morile stood before her crew. The galaxy was no longer what it seemed. History had been broken, and the truth was rising. She made a decision. We will find them. We will not fear them. We will not repeat the Empire's silence. We will give them a voice. And if needed, a choice. The crew stood in silence. Then, one by one, they nodded. The ship changed course, toward the next echo. 2. Siren stood at the window. Marin joined him. He asked, "Do you think we can build something better this time?" She looked at the stars. "We have to try." Behind them, Selen stepped into the hall. He spoke softly. "The fire may have been forgotten, but now it burns again, and it will light the way forward."